Hi, I'm David Lilford.
I'm Dawn Lilford.
Owner of Lilford Galleries, or joint owner of Lilford Galleries.
I am a director of Lilford Gallery and Lilford Framing Gallery.
What first inspired you to open the gallery?
There was a number of factors, really. I've always been into art, always going into galleries as a young child and as a young adult, but I was working in a business that I wasn't very happy in. I was working in management, retail management. A combination of a few things happened, my mother dying and so on, which may give me the impetus to think about how short life was and how if I wasn't very happy I could do something different. I read a book a while ago, one of Billy's actually, Billy Childish, My Fault. That got me turned onto a different style of artworks and poetry and things, led me down a different path. I can't remember how long ago that was now. It must be 30 years ago, I suppose I read that. That was really one of the pivotal moments, I think, for me as well. Because I'd never run an art gallery before, I wanted a space in the city, and I went through a process of making a business plan and approaching banks and so on. So I got a little bit of funding from the banks. At the time there was an enterprise agency thing the government sponsored, and they gave you a grant if you started a business up. The grant was £250, which is risible then, and they gave me that too. And I was sort of trawling around the city because I wanted it to be in Canterbury. I did look in Whitstable as well, and I wanted at the time a cafe with it as well. And we came across the place in Castle Street, number 76, which was relatively cheap to rent, and it had a sprawling area and an area that I felt could be a good cafe. There was also discussions with my wife about why I should stay on at the job I already had and not leave because the money was quite good. But there we go, yes.
To be fair, I'm not sure he approached me. I do think he told me he was going to leave Currys and Dixon's and open a gallery. There wasn't really enough time to feel anything.
Did you have any doubts about whether it would succeed?
Oh no, that's a good question, because I didn't doubt it, but I just knew it would be so different to life that we'd had before then. Everything we needed was enough, and life was pretty easy, really, pretty straightforward. Well, it was for me. I know it wasn't for him because he had the whole thing of corporate world and on his shoulders. So I knew everything would change, but I did know that he would make it successful. I had no doubt.
I don't think I was ever confident in the process. I don't think I'm confident now, to be honest. I don't think it was so difficult to start with. I mean, and I was never confident. I was confident in my abilities to run a business. I didn't think enough of it through, I don't think, in the early days.
So how did you navigate the uncertainties?
Well,
did you just not think about that?
I just didn't think about it. No, I'm very good at blocking things off. I don't think I actually did a show as such. I just opened I launched the gallery. There was a bit of press and so on. We had the Lord Mayor here to open it with us, and there were only about 15 or 20 artists that I knew at the time. Over the 3 floors that we had in there, I just put everything on the walls and tried to make it look as nice as possible. But I already had an eye for display, obviously, because I've been teaching that in retail to my managers and staff anyway, so I knew about that.
How involved were you in the beginning steps?
I wasn't allowed to be involved.
When were you allowed to be involved in the gallery?
I first became involved when David had everything up and running pretty much how he wanted it. He had friends and family in doing certain decorating, and it was a big undertaking for lots of family and friends. And even at the launch, at that time I was still working at a primary school, and a couple of the people I worked with, a couple of teachers, a couple of other TAs, came and served drinks and teas and coffees. The support was immense. I can't tell you. It was lovely. And then, because we had the cafe downstairs, I was allowed to work there. I wasn't allowed to work in the gallery. That wasn't on my radar. Well, it was on my radar, but not David's. So I worked at the school in the week, and Saturdays I came and worked in the cafe, helped with interviewing staff early on and making sure we had cakes and all the supplies we needed for that. That was my bit. I don't know why, because I know nothing about it, but that was my responsibility.
And now you're director.
Now I'm director. Yes, well that only came about because he opened up the second one. I say he and not we because, again, I wasn't consulted because he knows I would have said no. So it's best not to ask me. Yeah, David needed me to run this one.
I don't think Dawn compliments me at all. Well, she does sometimes. It's been challenging at times. Well, we've been married for 38 years now, so keeping a marriage going for that length of time is challenging. Obviously, I mean it's not a bed of roses, but we're a team and we work well together because it's based on love and trust and friendship. You know, then generally she trusts what I'm doing.
Yeah, we'll get to hear her side.
Well, I know. No, she's not going to say that at all, is she?
I think if we had started off the business together, it wouldn't have been such a successful outcome for our marriage. I think he was right to sideline me and do what his passion needed him to do and leave me to do my thing and just have an opinion because I do have the odd opinion. If he had issues, anything he was worried about, he could tell me but not involve me, if that makes sense. Whereas all the issues that we have faced with the business, he's just dealt with them and I've dealt with him. So it's worked really well. So I can support him while he supports the business, if that makes sense.
Nice, that makes sense. Great PR training. So did you always love art, or was this a love you developed through the gallery?
Definitely developed. I hadn't really thought about it, only that David was always good at art. So when we first met, he had his drawings and things. I always knew he loved it. Like when I was ill with tonsillitis and measles at the same time, he drew me a card with a bottle of Lucasade. And, you know, he used to do things like that. When we got married, he drew me a rose. Yeah, we've always had art, I think, between us.
So I'm curious, when you first meet an artist, what tells you they have something special?
That's luckily where, again, David and I are different, because I have to connect with the person and he has to connect with the art. And he can see better than I can what will likely sell and what won't. I just think, you're lovely. I want to work with you. You're great. Oh yeah, you got some art with you. Lovely. You would take that as well. So for me, it's the personal connection. And if I didn't get on with somebody, then I would have to just say to David, what do you think of the work? And he would have to do the proper decision, whereas I always think with my heart.
I look for the passion. If it's something that I bring to the gallery, is the passion. But so I'm looking for something like that in the artist. Obviously quality as well, high quality work. And something that's not, someone that believes in themselves, that isn't copying someone else.
How do you manage those relationships?
By staying in touch and keeping the communications open, I suppose. Just being respectful.
Did you ever imagine the gallery would reach this level of success and longevity?
It never occurred to me that it wouldn't. But we were young, and everything's possible when you're young. I didn't expect it to expand. I didn't expect there to be 3 in the same area. I thought if we expanded, it would be Canterbury, Devon or something, just somewhere else. It never occurred to me that we wouldn't still be here after 25 years. I don't want to be here after 40 years, but I think we're going to be.
Is it 25 years?
It is 25 years. I know, it's mad, isn't it? Well, I hoped it would. I hoped we'd have a legacy to pass on. I hoped at one point that we would sell the business, maybe. I don't think that sort of thing happens these days with galleries, but at one point our son John was interested in art, but now he's moved into something he really loves, guitar making, so which he's amazingly good at. And Annie's into art, but she's a silversmith, so it's not her thing either. So it's not going to be a family member. I don't think that takes over.
Is it going to be me?
So it might be Danny. Yeah, that's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about the framing studio?
We started off that all the artists had to bring their work in framed, but what you end up with then is a lot of different framing, and it's not easy on the eye in a gallery to have lots of different framing. So then we used to get our framing done somewhere, and that worked quite well, but it was a lot of to-ing and fro-in. And then David bought the framers business, which was in Herne Bay at the time. And with that came Trevor and Monica, which was just brilliant. And then we moved them into Canterbury. Monica has now retired, but we do miss her. So now every bit of framing that we do or any customer has done is done here. So there's no sending it away, there's no moving it, it's all done here. And the difference it's made to us is incredible. You often, with any gallery, you want everything as sleek as possible. Well, this gallery is very homely, but at the same time, the framing that we do ourselves here is usually black or white or wood, so it's streamlined. And we're just so lucky to have Trevor, who has been framing for, I think, about 40 years now. We are members of the Guild of Master Craftsmen because Trevor is a master craftsman. We're just so fortunate, and nothing's too much trouble for Trevor, unless it's really big, and then he might have something to say about it.
What has been the most rewarding part of running the gallery? Is there a moment, exhibition or memory that stands out?
You want me to say that it's the Surrealist show last year, don't you? was the highlight.
Listen.
So
it wouldn't be bad.
Do you know, there have been some really fun things that we've done, and I think some of the highlights coming to mind would be like the Luke Jerram show that we had, which was in the city. It wasn't necessarily in the gallery. We did the Play Me I'm Yours part, which was to putting the pianos in different areas of the city, 10 pianos around the city for people to play on and upload to YouTube. And we had the exhibition of his glass microbiology in the cathedral in the chapter house. So that was excellent.
There was a show I did, probably my first Christmas working here full time, and we did almost a shopping experience. So it was like a women's night, and we had music and massage and a few people selling things and different drinks and what have you. And it was really lovely event, and people had the chance to just chat with their friends and walk around. It was really nice. And then I had a guy come in the very next day and told me off for putting on an event for women when he would have liked to come. So I needed to reword it, and I just didn't think. So it was a learning curve.
The Canterbury Throwdown was one of my highlights as well, when we took over empty shops and put, again during the Canterbury Festival, put potter's wheels so people could have a go at throwing pots. And with Cherry Barnes, who's an absolute delight and a really close friend. Looking back, it was amazing. We were talking about it the other night, and it was hellish when we were doing it, and we definitely don't want to do it again, but it was just such a phenomenal thing to do.
I always love doing a show with Liz Akehurst because she just does it. She's so comfortable talking about her work. It's brilliant. There's another one that sticks in my mind I did with Hugh Ribbons, where he brought along one of his lino cuts, because what you don't always realise with Hugh is a lino cut is one lino. So there's lots to go wrong. and he brought in one of his linos, and it was so big. And he also let people have a go at doing linos and printing, and we served ice creams, and it was just a lovely event. And then the autumn show that we've done for the last few years, I really enjoy that.
And more recently, I guess, the Ian Dury show, All Kinds of Naughty, which was really, really good combination of film, talks with Jemima, Ian's daughter, and the guys from the band, and sort of an acting bit as well. It was just the little skit there too. That was really, really good. I think Ian Dury's show wouldn't have happened without Charles Sharman Cox's just an amazing powerhouse of ideas, and he did the skit and the acting and so on. And working collaboratively with people is one of my favourite things, and because it brings out different ideas, and people come in with things that you would never have thought of.
What role do you think galleries play in shaping culture and community?
I think there's a bit of a divide in that. I think for some parts of the community and the world in general, it's so important. And then there's the part where it's ignored. And that is so incredibly sad, because it's all about beauty and feelings and all the nice things, really nice things. And I think art brings out the best in people. And you know the ones that aren't going to be interested. From saying that, it needs to be made more important, because no one has to have it. It's something everybody wants, and they want to be a part of it, and for art and dance and music to all be a part of them. So I think it needs more recognition.
Well, I think a proper art gallery should reflect the community, but also be pushing the boundaries a bit, so that you're showing things that people wouldn't normally be comfortable around, and showing what's available of quality that they might want to put in their rooms. The thing is, art is so important, and it's sidelined. Art is a reflection of the character of a city. So the sculpture and the art around the city is a direct reflection of what the people are like in the city. Good art will make people feel good, I think, about themselves. Anybody that's into the arts, I think, would agree in that way.
So the beauty of Canterbury is it's beautiful. So a lot of the artists are really comfortable painting Canterbury. And you might think, well, the tourists are going to want those. People who live here want Canterbury on their walls. So it's a fantastic place to be. And because it's so small and intimate, everybody knows everybody. It's just a wonderful place to be. And again, we've got family and friends who have not left. And so you get always that comfortable feeling, and you walk around and you know people, and you got the universities, and what they bring to the city is, I think it's incredible, especially when the young people are so into art. We get a lot of students coming in and just loving it, loving the space. And I mean, they can't necessarily save up and buy anything, but they appreciate us. And that's lovely. And those conversations we have with them is amazing. And because Canterbury's small, we get a lot of regulars, and they come in for a chat, and it'll be like, oh, you got something different there. And that's lovely. Really, really good. So yeah, we have our regulars that just come in, see how we are. Brilliant.
In today's art world, do you think opening a new gallery is still a worthwhile venture?
Oh God, definitely not.
Don't do it. Absolutely do not do it. Just don't do it.
I was chatting with a friend earlier today, actually, who's just opened another gallery up north, and he's doing okay, I think. It's difficult these days because of the rise of the chains of galleries that are around, which kind of muddy the waters a bit. So it makes it very difficult to plough a sort of furrow that is sufficiently different from the others that's going to make you stand out.
I can see why the chains have gained momentum, because there's backing. For an independent gallery, there's no backing, You take on these most amazing works by these most amazing people, and you cannot force people to buy it. It's just beautiful. It enhances their life, but you can't explain that to somebody until they've got it home and put it on the wall. You can't force them into buying it. I think the only way you can open a gallery now is if you have another income. If it's a couple or friends, it doesn't matter. If there's two people, one's got a professional job and they're earning good money, then the other one can play in a gallery.
Pretty much similar to what David said,
Really?
to be fair.
I will talk to anybody about that sort of thing all the time, and it's something that you have to be so robust, and you have to have a way of making, getting extra money, finding funds. And I don't mean just through loans and things like that, but also you've got to be quite creative. The only way we've managed to stay afloat, I think, at times is through remortgaging, through balancing various different accounts. You've got to be honest with your artists and say, okay, if you're not going to be able to make a payment, then let them know so they know when it's going to come, and that kind of thing. Because it is really difficult for them as well. And we've had some pretty challenging times, what with Brexit and the pandemic and everything else that's happened. And that's the reason you have to be robust. You have to be able to adapt to the current economic climate.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned running an art gallery in those 25 years?
Time has improved both of us.
I think it's really good that we're all talking about mental health these days because that's definitely that's been a tough ride sometimes. This has been a tough ride.
And nothing could prepare us for that, only living it. So now David takes a step back. He does his potting. I'd like to say he doesn't play golf, but he does. And for me, I don't work here as much as I used to. I only do a few days now. So I volunteer and look after the grandson. And it's made me calmer. Instead of panicking all the time, how are we going to pay this? How are we going to pay that? What if this happens? What if that happens? When the children were little, I hated leaving them to go away for a weekend to do the art fairs. The reason I did the jobs I did was so I could be around for my children. Once I settled into it, I enjoyed the art fairs. It was good fun, hard work, but good fun. And now it's lovely coming to work, to be surrounded by all this beautiful stuff. I love that. There's nothing that could have prepared me for who I am now and how I respond to the art. It's just time and being amongst it and adjusting. You do adjust, and I'm a much calmer person, probably because all these beautiful things around me. It's
interesting that a lot of the artists that we deal with either started with mental health issues or have various things, or they're neurodivergent, so we can connect on different levels like that. But most people are kind and supportive. So I guess a lesson I've learned is that something I knew already, which was that people are generally nice. Generally nice.
No,
you're not at that.
Love actually is all around. You sound